Okay. What hardware does the organization or our school have, and describe the function of each component or device?
All right. Well, let me show you a few. A couple of items. This is a building, and in the building, this is one of our subnets. So what we have down here is a server. So that server is a server that holds a print server, does DHCP, and a few other things for the building. As you get above that, these are the gateways. So our gateways connect us to the ring. We have a ring that encompasses all of our schools. That's how the data flows around. Once it comes to our building, then it breaks out. There's our patch panel. So all of our rooms then, are wired to this patch panel. And 308-2, in room 308, you'd see a plug with that. So we can patch that then, and then we patch that wiring into the switches. These are all switches. They're Cisco switches. And the switches are used, so that's the physical connection of your computer or device to our network. And it runs on a TCP/IP network, mainly on Cisco hardware. And then to that we connect the clients, which could be MacBook computers, Windows computers, and in our wireless network, of course, is also connected to that, through which the Chromebooks and MacBooks and the Windows laptops kind of all hooked together.
Okay. And the next question is, where is the hardware housed?
And that's in a couple of places. So each building is going to have a data closet, which is the local breakout of the wiring, the switches, the router servers into that building. And then it also connects it to the ring. Up there it does. And then, so you have a data closet, and then this is a smaller building, so it just has one data closet for one subnet, which is a smaller network within a larger network. Mm-hmm. In your larger buildings, you might have multiple data closets and multiple subnets. Okay. Like at LMS, I have a subnet 10.3.1, a subnet 10.3.2, a subnet 10.3.3, and each of those has its own data closet.
Okay. And approximately how much money was spent for this network over what time period?
This is a work in progress.
Yeah.
It's been put together over a long period of time, so I'm not sure I can really answer that one very definitively.
Okay.
But the
more money
the networking
recently,
hardware
probably, since
is
the
not
MacBook.
inexpensive.
Okay.
So each of those switches, the Cisco switches, which can support, those are 48 port switches. You could pay upwards of $60,000 per switch. Your routers and gateways, can be the same thing. So the actual networking hardware tends to be expensive, and then of course, how many of those, how many subnets you have, how many buildings you have, just multiplies it. But and your servers are not uncommon, 5,000-10,000 per server.
And how is the network used, and how many users are there? So
this is, like I said, it's a standard TCP/IP network, which is a normal networking protocol used today in most businesses and on the internet. So that's how it's used. It's used to move the packets around. The packets contain the data that travels through your network. How many users? We have about 12,000 students, and then your staff. So 13,000 to 14,000 users in this district. Yeah.
Okay. And how many people manage and/or maintain the network? So how many of you are there?
There's about 9 of us that kind of work at the building level as computer specialists. We have about 4 people kind of more at the software support level, 1 network admin, a couple on help desk, and department director. Background and training really varies. Some people came in just through certification, some have BAs and ITs, some have masters in IT. So there's kind of a variety of paths in.
Okay. And what are the strengths of this network and weaknesses?
Well, the TCP/IP network was first built by DoD back in the Cold War. So, I mean, the strengths are it's a pretty robust network. It's got fault tolerance. If something does not work correctly, you know, it seeks to overcome that obstacle and work around it. Weaknesses of the network. Networks are, by their very nature and definition, you know, accessible from 13,000 different users per or devices. So, you know, there is potential for people to inject into that, you know, problems, or you know, it is susceptible to collisions, interference, interruptions of service, and the more you staff the network level of your IT department, the higher, you know, uptime you have, because they can be more proactive in protecting it. The less you staff it, the more outages you have, because, you know, things stop working. And I would say LPS goes with a fairly bare bones approach, so they have more outages.
Okay.
Whereas, for example, the previous organization I worked with, the FAA, you know, it was very important to them not to have outages, so they staffed at a higher level and we had more uptime.
Okay. And then the last question is, how could the network be improved?
Well, probably at this point, the thing that would improve our network and the uptime of the devices the most would be an increase in staffing. So you have people who are able to keep an eye on different areas, be more proactive in it, as opposed to reactive. And so that would probably be, you know, the hardware and the software is there, but it doesn't run itself. It requires maintenance, and so probably an increase in staffing would be the thing that would increase the uptime of our network and our systems.
Okay, thank you.